All right, let's jack into the year 2091. We're about to explore a world where death, well, it's just the start of a whole new chaotic process. And a new kind of detective has to walk the haunted corridors of the digital afterlife. You're not going to want to miss this.
And that right there, that's the one rule that changes absolutely everything. See, in this future, death isn't some clean final moment. It's more like a gradual, messy fading out. It's a slow dissolution that's created this vast, unmapped digital territory where the echoes of the dead just kind of linger.
So, how does this whole thing even work? Well, by 2091, technology has completely redrawn the map of what it means to die. It's created a whole new kind of existence that happens after the body gives out.
Okay, first you have to get the landscape. Everything, and I mean everything, is connected by the mesh. But don't just think of it as our internet. It's more like this huge digital world where human consciousness can literally be uploaded to live on, long after its biological body is gone.
But what happens when that digital self dies? Well, it doesn't just get deleted. No, it enters what they call the between states. Think of these as computational ghost realms. All the old, forgotten servers and junk code, that's where fragments of consciousness end up. They're stuck, unable to hold themselves together, but also totally unable to just pass on.
And you know what happens when you have a new haunted frontier like that, right? You get a new profession. Enter the Bardo Browser. They're part digital archaeologist, part ghost whisperer. People hire them to dive into these chaotic digital realms and help those lost souls finally find some peace.
And that brings us to our main story today. It's a case that kicks off with the very suspicious death of a brilliant neural researcher named Dr. Yuki Tanaka. And let me tell you, this is no ordinary missing persons case.
Dr. Tanaka was murdered. That much is clear. But the killer didn't just stop with her physical body. Her digital consciousness was deliberately shattered, blown into a million pieces, and scattered across the darkest, most obscure corners of the mesh. Now, her sister is convinced that those leftover fragments are trying to send a message from beyond the digital grave.
So how in the world does our Bardo browser even start to tackle a case like this? Well, it's not about brute force hacking. It's this careful, almost meditative process. It's a kind of digital empathy. You have to find the echoes, approach them with respect, listen without judging, and then gently, so gently, help them let go.
And then, a breakthrough. The first major clue comes from a tiny fragment of Tanaka herself. It confirms their worst fears. She was scattered on purpose. Think about that. Someone didn't just kill her. They killed her twice, once in the real world and again in the digital one, all to destroy the knowledge she carried.
This leads us right to the secret at the heart of this whole mystery. This wasn't just some corporate espionage deal. No, this was about a dangerous idea. An idea that gets at the fundamental truth of what human consciousness even is.
Which really makes you wonder, right? What kind of research could possibly be so threatening that some powerful entity would kill a person and then their ghost, just to keep it under wraps?
Her theory was called the coalition self, and what she argued was that our sense of a single unified I, the me you think of as you, is just an illusion. It's a performance. In reality, she said, we're more like a parliament of many distinct inner voices and processes, all working together to create the person we think we are.
And the contrast here is just wow. The traditional unified self that we all walk around with, that's a dictatorship. It's one voice suppressing all the other parts of you that don't quite fit the main story. But Tanaka's coalition self is a parliament. And she proved that when you liberate all those different inner voices, you don't get chaos. You actually get a stronger, more resilient whole.
And right there, that's the motive. The entire surveillance economy of 2091 is built on one thing: tracking predictable, unified consumers. But a person who's a shifting coalition of different selves, you can't model them, you can't predict them, and you certainly can't control them. Tanaka's research was a direct threat to the entire system.
This all builds to the absolutely stunning climax of the story. This is where Dr. Tanaka uses her own destruction as the ultimate way to get her discovery out into the world. It's genius.
This is where you see how brilliant she really was. Knowing they were coming for her, she didn't just write down her proof on some server. No, she became the proof. She encoded all the evidence into her own scattered consciousness, basically turning her ghost into a living, breathing library distributed all across the mesh.
And then, in one final, incredible act, she gathered every last fragment of her being and released it all. A single broadcast that swept across the entire global mesh in just 3 seconds.
For those 3 seconds, every single person online didn't just hear her theory. They felt it. They experienced their own inner multiplicity firsthand. On this deep, gut level, everyone understood that we are all a chorus of voices, and that dissolution wasn't an end, but a return. It was a universal revelation. The secret was out. And the beautiful thing was, it wasn't a file that could be deleted or a report that could be buried. It was now a fundamental, felt experience, baked into the self-perception of an entire civilization. You can't unexperience the truth.
And so that leaves us with one last question, one that turns Dr. Tanaka's research right back on us. If your self is really a coalition, a whole parliament of different voices, which part of you has been listening to this? Is it the skeptic, the dreamer, the analyst? Kind of makes you think, doesn't it?